10 straight wins now. Week after week, you guys keep taking care of business and avoiding the slip up. What's been the key to not having one of those?
Well, just the things we talk about and, doing our best to take care of the football and playing complementary. This today was obviously special teams that gave us Marcus is just a fantastic returner. And, I'm proud of the guys on that unit. They take a lot of pride in blocking for them. We took care of the guys on the edges, and, those are tough. Those can be backbreaking for an opponent. And so we try to do everything we can to avoid them, and we try to create them. So I think just the complementary phases, staying consistent in the message, and the players coming in here each and every week and practicing and preparing and obviously executing. And then when things don't go right, try to get them fixed and come back the next drive.
Foxborough Rush coming at you on a Wednesday morning. The Patriots, they just keep on rolling. I don't know how else to put it at this point in time. 10 straight wins, first team to 11 wins in the National Football League on the season. Kind of a nice seat to be sitting in as they head into their very late bye. The Patriots, Carolina Panthers also on a bye this week and with a big win to come off of as well and to kind of rest up a little bit. So look, all is looking good in the city of Foxborough and well beyond in New England. Khalin Kapoor, Jade McCarthy here with you to break everything down. And they just flat out dominated the Giants from start to finish on Monday Night Football. And, I think nationally, Colin, there continues to be this, well, they play such a soft schedule, and how for real are they? And I think every time they play a game nationally, like the one in Buffalo earlier this season, like the one Monday night in Foxborough, it's getting harder and harder for people to make those arguments with the way this team is playing. What did you see watching this one Monday night?
First things first, Jade, I can get used to this feeling, right? I mean, this was a top to bottom obliteration. They left no trace in that first half going into the rest of the game. And what I saw was a great team beating up on a team that had no business even being in that game from the start. The swirling narratives in this game, it was Jaxson Dart's coming back. The Patriots are dealing with injuries in the trenches. They're decimated on the offensive line with 2 starters out. On the defensive line, the interior, there's a couple of starters out. The narrative was, if ever there was a game for the Patriots to lose, if ever there was a trap game on the schedule, especially right before the bye, it would be this game. And the Giants came out. They had these quotes by Brian Burns. They had a plan against Drake Maye. He's too poised in the pocket. It leads to some opportunities being able to be taken advantage by the Giants defense. Well, Mike Tyson said it best. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. The Patriots punched the Giants in the mouth with that huge Christian Elliss hit that took away Jaxson Dart's legs for the rest of the game. The Marcus Jones punt return that really set the tone for what we were going to see. Everything worked out. All 3 phases were dominated by the Patriots. This is a win that is a statement-making win, not just because it was prime time, not just because it was 10 straight wins, but because they showed every other team in the league what they can do to them if they walk into their house. And that's what's going to be happening in the playoffs. Ideally for these Patriots is that they're going to be hosting teams and doing the exact same things to them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Obviously, they sit there today, with week 14 starting in the 1 seed in the AFC, which is significant for a myriad of reasons, maybe particularly significant because it could mean Drake Maye getting his blind side back, in a better place when it comes to Will Campbell and the injury that he has, which is reportedly a grade 3 strain, which is a tear, according to Albert Breer. So, he basically said, look, the Patriots put him on the IR to prevent him from pushing himself too hard, too fast.
Right.
This is something that can get worse, if you go out there and you play on it. So they don't want him out there until at least week 18, because obviously they want to protect him from himself. So you talk about, does week 18 matter? here? And are you playing any of your starters? Like, none of them are going to go to that point yet. But the reality is that's going to become the conversation, depending on what happens with some games this weekend and if the Patriots can continue to take care of business. We'll get to sort of all of that and look to the schedule still ahead and talk about that 1 seed coming up. And we'll also look ahead to the first game of week 14, which is a terrific Thursday night matchup. So we'll set the table for that one as well. But let's start with that hit on Jaxson Dart because that just garnered so much attention nationally. I think it had a lot of back and forth going. I mean, if you heard some people, there were people going, that was a dirty hit. You heard people saying absolutely not. Like, I'm surprised we don't hear more people or see more defenders try to hit like that, when a quarterback is a runner on the sideline. Mike Vrabel talked a little bit about it yesterday on WEEI, and he was like, look, this is what we do. Here's the Patriots head coach.
I didn't see anything on the first view that would tell me that, and again, this is both sides, and this happens in this league. And if you're inbounds and you're not sliding, again, when the first sack, when Harold got him, I said, hey, got to be careful. I don't think he was going for his head, and he just slid. Harold's coming at him, and he slid. I said, just got to be careful. Like this, we know when a quarterback slides, they're protecting him, and we have to go in, making sure that he's down and giving himself up, but we're not hitting him in the head or neck. We coach that all the time. We know that that's what happens. The quarterbacks are going to slide late. They're going to be protected. We can say anything we want about it. We just have to understand what they're calling and what we have to do. But if there's a player running down the sidelines, we're going to have to, we're going to have to hit him. And we go through this every week on a Friday tape, and we put it on there. It's whatever quarterback of the week. It happens twice a week. They're over there prancing around, and you're going to get hit. And if we show that to Drake, and our defenders are being coached the same way, when I say we better not get cute over there by the sidelines because this is legal, I turn around and tell the defense, if this is happening, we need to try to knock it out of them as legally as possible.
Well, I tell you what, he sure did. I mean, that is exactly what Christian Elliss did on that particular play. I'm pretty confident in saying that whether you were in Foxborough or whether you were watching that on TV, you had some type of physical, audible reaction as that play took place. And it's a legal hit. I mean, that's the bottom line of it, Colin. Like, it is a legal hit. And you know who even admitted that? Jaxson Dart admitted that, right? I mean, here's what he had to say after the fact.
No. Look, like, I understand the question, but this is football. Like, I'm gonna get hit if I'm in the pocket or outside the pocket. I feel like I've played this way my whole entire life. This shouldn't be like any shocker to anybody if you've followed along with my career. And we're not playing soccer out here. Like, you're gonna get hit. Things happen. It's part of the game.
Well, I think there's two sides of that from my estimation. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts because it is a physical game. It's a legal hit. He's going to get hit. That's part of football. There's also the notion of if you continue to take hits like that, you're not going to be available to your team. And I can't count how many times I heard guys say to me, availability is the most important ability. We've already seen him miss time because of, being in the concussion protocol. If you're going to continue to take hits like that and not adjust your game, you're not going to be able to play a full season or even close to a full season. But kudos to the Patriots, for going out there and delivering a legal hit that they could do, that juiced up the rest of the team.
Jade, Jaxson Dart in his rookie season has been evaluated for a concussion 4 times already. 4 times. And so I watched this clip, And I was initially shocked that Jaxson Dart went out there and took a hit like that early in the game. Watching his quotes back, I'm not shocked at all. This is a guy with such a fatalistic view of what his role on the team is. You know, I watched, he was on like John Gruden's YouTube channel. He did the Gruden's QB camp thing, and he said his mentality is +2 yards every run. He wants to fall forward, get that extra 2. He wants to be able to push forward, use his physicality, use his body, and put the team on his back. In college, theoretically, that can work for you. That's why he got picked so high. That's why he was such a great runner in the NCAA. In the NFL, it's not going to work long term. It's just not. We saw it on Monday night. We've seen it this season. He will get obliterated if he keeps doing this. And I just think that, you know, I watched Drake Maye's press conference about this as well. And Maye said, I learned to be smarter in his first year, right? Like, this is something that Jaxson Dart's just going to have to learn. You hope years down the line, he'll look back at that quote and be like, what was I talking about? Like, what am I doing here? You hope that's what he does, because that means he would have made a change, right? Like, I think that Jaxson Dart really cares about his toughness. I think his toughness is not equal to I have to take hits every single time I run with a football. You can be tough while not doing that. Multiple things can be true at the same time here. And this was a legal hit. I watched the video on social media of some fans taking a video of that hit. The place was electrified after that hit by Christian Elliss. That really set the tone for the physicality of the game. This game was described as brutal, as vicious by reporters on the Boston Globe, by Mike Vrabel himself about how his defense was playing. And that hit took Jaxson Dart's legs out of him for the entire game. He did not have a run past 10 yards. He didn't really design runs for himself. The Giants didn't design any runs for himself. That hit set the tone for the defense, really set the tone for the Giants' offense as well. That's how important it was for the Patriots in this game. And just back to Jaxson Dart real quick. I mean, he is such an electrifying player. He's a really great player. That 2-point play to Darius Slayton just showed what he's capable of doing. There's a lot of Mahomes in there. There's the physicality of Josh Allen in there. He just has to stay on the field, and he has to be able to adapt his playing style to be the franchise, the face. He's essentially the Giants. He is the New York Giants. Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo, their careers are linked to his career as well. So are the jobs of the executives for the Giants. Obviously, so was Brian Daboll's job, right? This is bigger than Jaxson Dart when it comes down to it. It's his job to lead this entire franchise. He can't do that if he's concussion protocol multiple times this season. And if he keeps playing like this, that's just what's going to happen. Like, there's no other way to look at this other than if you don't slide, if you don't get out of bounds, if you don't, throw the ball away instead of getting slammed down by Harold Landry on the first drive of the game, then you're not going to be in the game, right? You're going to be out, you're going to be injured, and the Giants are going to suffer because of that. And that's just a lesson you hope he learns throughout the rest of this season, you hope he learns in the offseason, and you hope his career is long and prosperous down the line.
Yeah, the reality is that I think he adds a lot to the game. We've seen the juice that he adds to the game, and as a football fan, you want to see him continue to be able to do that, which leads me back to exactly where I was. Availability is the greatest ability. Like, it's that simple. And hits like that can change the game. Christian Elliss talked about the impact that it had, on the Patriots sideline.
During the play, I saw the scramble, started chasing him down. He started tiptoeing on the sideline, and I thought he was just going to go out of bounds, but then I saw him tiptoeing. So I was like, stay in bounds. What am I supposed to do? And we play hard on defense. We try to bring life to this team. So that's all I was trying to do, is just do my job and hit anything in the whites.
Hey, Christian, what kind of message can a hit like that send to a quarterback or an opposing offense?
Make sure to slide.
Perfect answer.
Yeah. Perfect answer, 100%. But it's true. I mean, it does. It certainly sends a message, to slide or get out of bounds faster, or whatever the case may be. The inch is probably not worth it, on that particular down. And it does obviously add some level of excitement and level of physicality, to the rest of the defenders who were out there, and to, guys on the offense. You mentioned listening to Drake Maye, obviously, and his response to all of it. Let's listen to the Patriots quarterback.
No, I think it's something that's been across the league that showed up with quarterbacks near the boundary or near the sideline, just kind of relaxing. And I think I learned last year the Chargers, I had one on that same sideline over there. I got smacked on the sideline. So just be smart and know you almost got to accelerate or get down or do something over there. But I think Jaxson, he makes some good plays with his feet, so he's tough to handle.
Your coach didn't look at you and give you one of these or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't think you needed it. I don't think you need to. You heard the hit from the sideline, so I think everybody in the stadium knew.
That's the truth, right? Like, nothing has to be said after a hit like that. And that's where I said to you, right? I think whether you were watching this one, whether you were in Foxborough or in front of a television screen, you had that physical reaction. Nothing had to be said. The hit did all the talking that was needed in this one. But really, I mean, I thought it was a microcosm of this game. Because, the Patriots got out fast. They've had some slow starts this season. That was not the case Monday night. They came out firing. They came out strong. They came out ready to go in this one. Special teams, obviously. We've seen, the assist to special teams happening several times this season. And this was once again the case, with Marcus Jones, another punt return touchdown for him. Let's listen to him and then get your thought on the special teams play, Colin.
First off, man, I think of those situations whenever my dad had me like in the parking lot when I was like 4 years old, and he used to throw the ball in the air and be like, track it. That was the first thing that I thought about. It's a long journey, especially with punt returns. Everyone doesn't want to do it. I find a lot of joy when it comes down to it. But at the end of the day, ever since that I got into the league, I would say, the guys that have been blocking for me, I commend them 24/7. Without them, I wouldn't be able to get any yards, I can honestly say. But, I commend my guys out there and everything like that. I try to just make them right. They do the hard part and everything, and all I do is just follow blocks and kind of go from there. So.
To follow up regarding the punt return for the touchdown, the 94-yarder, once you got it to the near sideline, at what point do you sense like that you have only the punter to beat? And he's one of the better tackling punters in the NFL, former rugby player. When did you sense that like you had that lane along the sideline?
My main thing was don't get tackled by the punter. I would say that. But I would say also, the field was kind of shrinking. So I was just like, make sure I stay up and, do my guys right and everything like that for sure.
Look, I mean, I feel like that's what we've heard so much with this New England team, and that's obviously a testament to Mike Vrabel and the rest of that coaching staff and what leadership is, right? It's this notion of like, I'm out here having success, with a punt return touchdown that's 94 yards on Monday Night Football, but I'm actually going to deflect that success to the guys who are doing the blocking for me and help me make that a reality. And that's top down, right? I mean, that is leadership top down. And we've seen it play out time and time again on this team. And again, like, that's what we witnessed on Monday night. But special teams has been an edge for this New England team. We saw it for years, obviously, with Bill Belichick here, and we have certainly seen it this year with Mike Vrabel.
And especially when you're playing against a team like the Giants that were completely inept on that side of the football, it really just tilts the scales that much farther in your favor, right? I mean, you just think about when that punt return touchdown happened. The Patriots hadn't won the game by then by any stretch of the imagination. It was so early. There was still time, obviously, for the Giants to kind of get back into rhythm. And again, that was just a punch right in the mouth by Marcus Jones. And I think it's so interesting that he said that he finds the joy in returning punts and that it's not for everyone, because you always see reporting, in training camp and in the offseason that's like, oh, this running back is going to be returning punts. And people see that as like a downgrade for that player or like a punishment at times for that player. And that's kind of the outside looking in, obviously, but it's so great to see someone really love that that's part of his role on this team and really kind of thrive in that realm, and that just makes the entire team that much better. So Marcus Jones has been excelling on the defensive side of the football this season. Keegan and I talked a couple weeks ago about him potentially being one of the defensive MVPs for this squad because of how great he's been as a defender, but also on the special team side of things. You cannot discount that, and we saw that. And that's something that you get into the playoffs, you need a spark going forward in a big playoff game to start out, a game just like we saw against the Giants. Even if it's not a touchdown, but just fantastic field position, that's something that could turn a tide of a playoff game, and something that the Patriots, like you said, Jade, have an edge over a lot of teams in the NFL right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the fact that he takes joy in it, and he lifts it as something that is prideful for him, I think is awesome, right? I mean, because it is an art. And you do see guys who take that type of ownership and enjoy it. I mean, Julian Edelman was one of them, like going way back when, right? And there's certainly other guys along the way. One of my favorite people I worked with in Philadelphia, Visek Ahama was a punt returner for the Eagles. The famous like punching the goalpost at the end, which was a tribute to his dad. But I think it's one of those things that if you embrace it and you find some joy in it, you might find yourself going 94 yards to the end zone for a touchdown like Marcus Jones did on Monday Night Football. All right, let's take a quick break. We got some awards to hand out because it's not a Monday, but they played Monday night, so we're going to do it on a Wednesday. Plus, we will look ahead to the schedule past the bye week for New England and elsewhere around the AFC, and take a peek at that Thursday Night Football game as well. Foxborough Rush coming back at you on a Wednesday morning right after this.
I was just going to stay on Coach Vrabel. You hear those MVP chants a lot, whether you hear them or not, they're there. Do you think he's mounting maybe a campaign for Coach of the Year?
Yeah.
He also promised to shave the mustache. Are you happy or sad about that?
Exactly. I thought it looked good. I think it was for a great cause. I think he, I think, the awards, I think he'll probably say the same thing. He's, worried about, each and every week, and that stuff will come. But, he's got my vote, and he's got a lot of people's vote. He's got everybody's vote, in this organization and, in that locker room, and I'm sure across the league.
For the record, he did shave the mustache. It is officially gone with December upon us. But look, I mean, that sort of goes to the point that I was making earlier, right? In this notion of great leaders deflect praise. And I think that we continue to see that throughout the course of this team. And clearly, Mike Vrabel is making a case for himself for Coach of the Year. He won it, previously during his time with the Tennessee Titans, who were probably sitting there going, oh, gosh, at this point. But that's a story for another day. And he's not the only one. I mean, you look at the MVP odds at this point in time. I think we have them from DraftKings today. And you look at who is at the top of that. And Drake Maye, the favorite for MVP. Matt Stafford, had kind of been above him, arguably, for a couple weeks. He had a tough game, turned it over 3 times. Against Carolina and the Rams loss. And, there's Drake Maye sitting there at, minus 105, 24, 31, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 126 passer rating on Monday Night Football against the Giants. Needless to say, the praise parade, the do-si-do of having praise for one another on this team, it continued to happen. Here is the head coach talking about his quarterback.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was an issue. It's just we put the next 2 guys in there, and Ben's been ready for his opportunity. Verdarian's been working hard and worked hard in the offseason to come back from his shoulder, and so again, I get those guys a full week of practice. I thought, Drake is, I think he's really he's realizing what he can be and what the impact that he makes on this offense, and being the conductor. He's hard on himself, and I think that he challenges himself as well as his coaches, and he means a great deal to this football team, and just being able to not get rattled and escape or pressure and find Ramondre or scramble, and then when we do have time and he sees a guy win and put a ball great spot there for Kyle to make a huge play, or Kayshawn down there in the red zone. So, a lot of third down conversions. So again, very appreciative that he's our quarterback.
Look, you give out gold stars or, high marks, honor roll, if you will, or flowers, whatever you want to give out. It's hard to watch this game and not give them to Drake Maye. I honestly, I think it's that simple. You look at the way he took in what the Giants defense was giving him, and went through the progression and found the play that he needed to have. There were a couple of them maybe that he'd want to have back. But for the most part, he went out there and turned out a stellar performance in this game Monday night.
He really did. And this was a game where you're watching and you're seeing total control of the offense. You're seeing complete and utter, domination of the scheme that he's seeing on the other side of the field. This was an MVP game, and I understand it's the Giants. I get it. If every single game Drake Maye played this season was against the Giants and he put up these numbers, yeah, sure, maybe he's not the MVP. But he's been doing this against a lot of good teams, a lot of good defenses, right? The Falcons or the Browns are not great football teams. They have fantastic defenses, and Drake Maye had good games against both of those teams. The Bucs as well, the Bills as well. These are teams that Drake Maye has seen and he has shredded all season long. And so I understand the betting odds. That's a fickle thing, right? If Stafford puts together a really sharp game next week, he's probably going to be the betting favorite just because Drake Maye's on bye next week. That's just kind of how the markets go. That's kind of how it is. But if we go weeks down the line, Drake Maye stays consistent. Maybe Stafford falters in a few games. The Rams do have a matchup against the Seahawks coming up at the tail end of the season. Maybe there's a chance that Maye continues to be the favorite, ends up winning the MVP. I think from a pure football stance, Drake Maye is the MVP, full stop, period, end of sentence. I think you look at the voters, you look at the legacy of Matthew Stafford, you look at what he's done in his career and has yet to win an MVP. There's a narrative there that the voters are going to like, that they might vote in Matthew Stafford to be the MVP. The good news about that is, I don't think Drake Maye really cares as long as the Patriots keep winning games, right? He is not playing for the stats. He's not playing to get asked about being the MVP. He's not playing for the chance. He's playing to win football games for New England. That's not to say Stafford's not doing that, obviously, but that's just the culture that's built in New England. And I think that the pocket presence Drake Maye showed on Monday night, climbing in the pocket, even with his backup right side, allowing some pressure, he was still really sharp in the face of blitzes. The Giants blitzed over 40% of the time on Monday night. Drake Maye threw for 150 yards and both touchdowns against the blitz against the Giants. He saw everything. He saw it coming a mile away, climbed up in the pocket when he had to, got the ball out when he had to. By the way, Jade, you mentioned Josh McDaniels scheming things up differently with this backup O-line in the last show before the game last week. Drake Maye threw the ball as quick as he has all season against the Giants, just about 2.5 seconds from snap to throw. That's the quickest he's done it all season long, and I think that's a great example of what McDaniels knows how to do, what he knows his quarterback is capable of, and then Drake Maye seeing all those things and executing it perfectly. The Giants, for all of their faults, they have a pretty sharp pass rush. I mean, Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, these are all great players. Carter was benched for the first quarter, neither here nor there, but this is a good pass rush, and that's probably the only hallmark of this Giants defense. Maye saw that, got the ball out quick, climbed the pocket when he had to, extended plays when he had to. He's the engine of this offense. He is the most important player to their team in the NFL right now. And that, to me, I think it should be ubiquitous, but it's not, obviously, looking at some of the national media on Tuesday morning. Drake Maye's the MVP. The Patriots are the best team in the NFL. I think these are facts. And at this point in the season, and Maye has just shown it time and time again. The consistency is impeccable for him. And you mentioned it at the top. What a much needed and much deserved bye week for this Patriots team and for Drake Maye.
Yeah, look, I mean, I do think that, sort of watching the socials during this game, there was a lot of, wow, look at what Drake Maye is doing throughout
just
the
makes it
course
look
of
easy.
the game and MVP fodder and all of that, right? Just with that notion. And you can look at some of the stats here, but look, I mean, he is certainly putting together an MVP caliber season. There's still a lot of season left. We're sitting here and they got 4 games ahead. And many teams have 5, obviously, just because of the very late bye for the Patriots. But there is no question that he is squarely in that conversation, even if you're not willing to give him, the honors at this point in time. He continues to earn high marks in this game. Let's real quick, just before we move on from Drake Maye, let's listen to Steph Diggs. And he might be a little biased, but here's what he thinks about his quarterback and that whole MVP.
It's been exciting. As far as with a young quarterback, and a guy showing a lot of promise, a lot of confidence. Coming from a quarterback position and we being young, it's obviously something there. But I think the biggest thing is he comes in each and every day. He's the same guy. He approaches the game like a professional. And he has a lot of fun. So he's super hard on himself. You can see out there that he wants to make every throw. He wants to make all the good decisions. And just stacking it, it's going to be important. MVP, I think it's probably the first thing from his mind. And he's a winner guy, so he's focused on the wins.
Do you think he is the MVP, though? Do you think he has established that in the league and he should be the MVP?
That ain't for me to say. Obviously I'm biased, because he's my quarterback, and I would love for him to win MVP his second year in the league. He's an amazing quarterback, but, that ain't up to us. I think what we chasing is going to be a little bit more important. But, you continue to play well, it'll fall right in your lap.
My favorite line in all of that is what we're chasing may be a little bit more important. You talk to guys who played this game for a long time, those, that chased that and never got it, those that chased it and did get it multiple times, and they'll tell you, all honors aside, it's all about the ring. It is all about the ring. That's what they will all say to you pretty much. So look, let's give out some other grades from this game, some other flowers, some other honors. We talked a little bit about this, in the first segment, so I'll just get this one out of the way. But Jeremy Springer is the special teams coordinator for this team, and I think he deserves a lot of praise in this one. I think special teams has been a significant advantage for the Patriots throughout much of the season. I think it proved to be an advantage on Monday Night Football against the Giants. And, tip of the cap, some flowers for him, because I think that the way this team has played, that's a significant component of this game. Like you said earlier, Khalin, whether it amounts to a touchdown in the end zone or not, if it's just a flip of the field and you're setting yourself up for better field position, that's something that we've continually seen and I think deserves a little bit of credit. All right, Colin, what else you got?
Yeah, first things first, how about a lot of bit of credit, right, after that game? And I'll just jump off on that real quick. Christian Elliss, we talked about him at the top. We mentioned the hit on Jaxson Dart. How about the forced fumble on the punt return by the Giants? And that was a hit that looked really brutal. You look at the helmet to helmet, you think, what is Christian Elliss doing? Gunnar Olszewski, the punt returner for the Giants, kind of twisted into it. That obviously wasn't an intentional helmet to helmet hit by Christian Elliss. It wasn't, you see the comments on Twitter and on Instagram that the Patriots are a dirty team. They're doing all this stuff on purpose. I don't buy into that narrative at all. I think that it was kind of a incidental contact type helmet to helmet contact. And it forced the fumble. Anyone would fumble if they got hit like that, obviously, but that was a huge play at that point of the game. Christian Elliss had 4 tackles on special teams alone in this game, and then you talk about the hit on Jaxson Dart that took away his legs overall. So I think Christian Elliss cemented himself in this game as a game breaker in multiple facets, multiple phases. He had himself a day, and obviously the hit on Jaxson Dart dominates the social media headlines, but that fumble recovery and that forced fumble was massive for the Patriots as well.
Yeah, and I think, just the notion of watching everything in slow motion completely changes the way that you view it, because all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's like, no, actually, if you watch that in real time, there's a slight shift there's nothing else that you can do if you're in his vantage. Like, you're just
Right.
going in for a hit. So I think sometimes that, that becomes overplayed a little bit, because we do see things in slow motion and from the camera angles that we do have at this point in time. Who else do you have honors for in this one? Or are there places in which you watch this and you go, okay, it was dominant from start to finish. Yes. But if I had to put a little needs improvement column, this is what I would have in it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with the one thing I want to mention that worked out well in this game, and that was the backup offensive line members that were in. Vidarian Lowe came in on the right side. Ben Brown came in on the right side. And these are players that have had their struggles in New England, to say the least, over the past couple of seasons. But Vidarian Lowe comes in and performs admirably. I mentioned McDaniel scheming up quick passes, Drake Maye climbing up in the pocket, but this right side of the O-line that had not played at all this season together allowed pressure only a quarter of the time, and they were able to keep Drake Maye clean. I will say on the running side of the things, the Patriots had only 0.6 yards before contact. The Giants had 2.1 yards before contact, so the run blocking suffered a little bit there. And that's something that I'll mention in terms of might need improvement, is just making sure your guys get enough of a lane to run before they get contacted first. Travion ripped off some big runs late that kind of helped salt the game away, which was fantastic to see. But early in the game, there were a couple of those second and short, third and short that weren't converted on. So you want to see those sticks get moved right then and there. And then we mentioned this before we recorded, just getting more points in the second half, right? 3 second half points for the Patriots. Yeah. Salt the game away, yes, but also keep pushing, right? Keep scoring. The red zone offense was just 1 for 5. So you got to work on that as well in the bye week and going in to your next week in week 15.
Yeah, and the red zone offense is something that we've talked about, in this space before. Keegan and I talked about it a lot. So I think it's just one of those things that it's going to continue to be a focus. Whether you're excelling at it or you're not, the red zone offense is always going to be something that teams are focusing on. And I do think it'll be interesting to watch these next couple weeks and see what wrinkles, we might start to see them test out, as we work our way towards January, just because, you don't want to give it all away, but obviously you want to start to practice some of that. So I'm sure that Josh McDaniels will spend just a little bit of time during the bye week with that on his mind. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll look around the league, in terms of what else is happening while the Patriots are getting some rest and recoup a little bit. They got to watch the Thanksgiving Day games. The weekend after Thanksgiving, they got to chill because they had a Monday night game, and now they get to chill, for the bye week before they head back out there. We'll look at their schedule and the other teams leading the way in the AFC when we come back right here on Foxborough Rush. Khalin Kapoor, Jade McCarthy back with you on Foxborough Rush. Taking a look at the AFC standings right now. And, of course, the Patriots, the first team in the National Football League to 11 wins this season. They lead the way in the AFC 11-2 in that one spot. The Denver Broncos pulled out an overtime win the night before, so they're sitting there at 10-2. You have the Jags at 8-4. The Baltimore Ravens, who look like a shell of themselves right now. Certainly Lamar Jackson does, dealing with some injuries, but gosh, it's been impossible for him to find the end zone, and it's been tough for the Baltimore Ravens really throughout the season. They're sitting there at 6-6. They are the leaders in their division. So that's what it looks like at this point in time. Of course, on the outside looking in, you have the Houston Texans and that defense. You have the Kansas City Chiefs, who we are all so used to, being in the playoffs, heck, being in the Super Bowl as they have been for the last 3 seasons. Will they find a way in? Colin, I don't know if you heard this, but Andy Reid saying that they are going to tickle the tonsils of their opponents in the coming weeks, which I thought was an interesting one from Coach Reid there. But you start to look at the schedule here and the Patriots' chances to wind up with that all-important 1 seed, because you get the bye, and that obviously proves fruitful to any team, at that juncture in the season when everybody is dealing with injuries. Nobody is fully healthy. Here's what the road ahead looks like for the Patriots. They have the bye this week, and then things continue with the Bills, who will be in Foxborough. Then they go on the road to take on the Ravens and the Jets, and then they finish at home against the Dolphins. If we kind of compare and contrast that with Denver, for instance, right, who's sitting there at 10-2 in the win column, here's the road ahead for the Denver Broncos. They play at the Raiders this weekend. We all know that has just been nothing short of a disaster in Las Vegas this season. But then they have to take on the Green Bay Packers. They have to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have to play at Kansas City. And yes, I know that the Broncos came back and beat them this season, but Kansas City has to basically run the table for the rest of their schedule in order to be in. So if they've done that to that point in week 17, that's a hugely significant game for Denver. And then they finish against the Los Angeles Chargers. So you could see, I don't think it'll come to this, but you could see, 2-3, maybe 1-4. I mean, it's not crazy.
Yeah.
Just those numbers with what the Denver Broncos have ahead of them.
Yeah, Jade, this Broncos schedule is really brutal. And I'll say this, the Broncos are a 10-2 team. They've won some big games. The defense is great, full of superstars. I don't know if this is a good offense. I just don't. There's no way to know if they're good or if they're bad because they're so unbelievably inconsistent week in and week out. They dropped only 10 points, 10 against the Raiders in Thursday Night Football a couple of weeks ago in one of the most unwatchable games that I've ever tried and sat down and watched. Anyone who watched that game in full should be entitled to financial compensation. I'm talking about myself, obviously. But, come on. I don't know if this is a good offense. I know that they're a clutch offense. I know that Bo Nix can be a fantastic quarterback in spurts and bursts that he has so far this season. That fourth quarter against the Giants, of course, was miraculous. The first three quarters were a disaster for Bo Nix and the Broncos. So if this Broncos team could put together 60 minutes on offense like the Patriots have really done all season long, then yeah, they're going to be a powerhouse. We just haven't seen that so far this season. They got taken down to the wire by Marcus Mariota and the Washington Commanders. And Mariota's a good QB. He's a backup QB. The Commanders have the Swiss cheese defenses of all Swiss cheese defenses, and it took the Broncos till the final play of the game to beat them. So I don't think this Broncos offense is for real. I've been watching Bo Nix all season. I think he's a good quarterback that has his spurts of greatness. I think he's just far too inconsistent to make a deep playoff run right now. You contrast that with Drake Maye, who's been the emblem of consistency all season long, has cleaned up some of those early turnover troubles. He's sharp in the pocket. He makes the right decisions. He doesn't force the ball down the field like Bo Nix has so far this season. And so I just don't believe in the Broncos. I don't buy into them. I think that this is a facade of a 10-2 team right now. They've won a lot of these games in their winning stretch by 5 points or less, by 10 points or less. They've won a lot of these games on the final play against teams that they really should be dominating. The Giants and the Raiders and the Commanders, like I said. I don't think this Broncos team is for real. I think the Patriots are much, much better than them. And you look at the rest of the competition in the AFC, the Colts were the other team that was kind of talked about as maybe they could rival the Patriots. If Jonathan Taylor's not running for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, the Colts lose. That's just what's happened this season. They're 1-4 when Jonathan Taylor doesn't score and their quarterback has a broken leg. It's like
he has a broken leg. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
I give him credit that he's playing on it, right? I mean, he's out there and he's playing when you talk about Daniel Jones, but you can't tell me that that's not having some kind of impact on him. And obviously, the Texans overtook them last weekend, and now it's the Jags who are, the leaders in the division. And you look at the Jags schedule. I mean, I'll say this about the Colts real fast. Like, if they wind up missing the playoffs after the way they started, oh gosh, and the moves that they made, like that is going to be rough. But, look, I mean, they got to face each other twice this weekend, and this is the Jags' perspective, right? Then they get the Jets, then they have to go to Denver to take on the Broncos, then they have to go to Indy to take on the Colts, and they close against the Titans. So, I mean, that division can go a number of different ways, but let me tell you, like, the Colts schedule is not any easier, right? Like, Jags, Seahawks, 49ers, and then they close against the Texans again. And of all those teams, like, the team that I might not want to face the most, it might be the Texans.
Yeah,
because their defense
I'm in lockstep.
is
I'm in lockstep. Yeah,
legit. Like, their defense is it's off the charts. Like, give D'Amico Ryans a lot of credit.
And we talk about teams that you don't want to see in that first round, and why it's so essential that the Patriots get this bye week and the first overall seed is because they could see the Texans in the first round of the playoffs. They could very well see the Bills or the Chiefs in the first round of the playoffs, and that's why you get that bye week, you get a rung on the ladder, you only got to win 1 to get to the Final Four, win 2 to get to the Super Bowl, right? And teams that you do want to see, I would love to see the Colts in the playoffs. I don't think this Colts team, if Jonathan Taylor's not running well, is going to be a threat. Sauce Gardner's week to week right now with a calf injury. Maybe he's going to be limited down the line. We mentioned Daniel Jones is playing on one leg, and this is a Colts team that is probably going to lose to the Jaguars this coming week, and we're going to answer a lot more questions about that division. But you look at the AFC, Jade, I don't see any teams that could pose a legitimate threat to the Patriots right now. Things can change down the line. Playoffs is a different animal.
Change
Drake Maye hasn't been tested in that realm yet, but we're talking about right now the current AFC playoff picture. Patriots, far and away the most complete team, the most dominant team offensively, the sharpest team defensively, and the best coach team of this bunch as well, with the best quarterback to boot. So Patriots are in a really great spot right now. It's going to be great for them to kind of see all these teams clash against each other, see what happens there. The Colts with that big game against the Jags. And, of course, we talked about the Broncos and the Raiders, a team that gave them fits last time. So it's going to be a fun week of football for the Patriots just to sit back, relax, and let the fireworks happen, and they can rest up.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. I mean, I think it'll be very interesting because you talk about Kansas City and how are they going to close this season? Like, I'm sorry, but like, it's sort of, you're never going to just go against Andy Reid and Mahomes. I just don't think you can. And no one's ready to count him out at this point in time. But obviously that division is in a very different place. Let's just real quick look at the road ahead for Baltimore here because they're sitting there at 6-6. And they're not alone, right, at this point in time when you talk about their division, but this is their road ahead. They have the Steelers. That's obviously a huge game this weekend between the two of them because they're both sitting there at 6-6. Then they take on the Bengals, who have Joe Burrow back, and then, of course, New England, and then they go to Green Bay, and then they finish at Pittsburgh. I don't even know how many wins you're going to need. I don't even know if you're going to have to be above 500 to win that division. I'm not convinced of that at this point in time. And I would say this, like if you have an unhealthy Lamar, which you've had for the past several weeks, they've looked like a shell of themselves. And this is all like right now because things change so fast in this league. But maybe the Patriots win over Cincinnati actually looks a little bit better now. They might be the most dangerous team to take on in the playoffs if they can actually find their way into winning the division.
Yeah, the rest of the league, I think, is counting their blessings that this Bengals team was 3-8 when Joe Burrow got back healthy because they look legit. Burrow looked legit. The Ravens looked unwatchable in that Thanksgiving night game. That was a really tough one, and you just hope Lamar is going to find a way to be fully healthy at some point this season if you're a Ravens fan. But, man, like, that was tough. And Joe Burrow coming back from that injury and dicing them up like he hadn't missed a step was pretty impressive to see. This Bengals team, if somehow they sneak in, I don't know if it's possible mathematically, but I think they have like a 6% chance. They could be dangerous somehow.
Yeah, stranger things have happened. The parody of this game is part of the greatness of this game. There's no question about that. We'll take a look at the Thursday night matchup as we wrap things up right here on Foxborough Rush right after this. Well, it's certainly a stacked NFC, right? I mean, the San Francisco 49ers are the 7 seed right now, and they have 9 wins, by the way. It's the first 2 teams out on that side of things that take each other on Thursday Night Football to kick off Week 14. That would be the Dallas Cowboys, who, of course, beat the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl a season ago in the span of 5 days, and a Detroit Lions team that sorely needs to find a way to win, to stay in the mix in that NFC North. This one looks to be as good as the one that you said was so bad a couple weeks ago on Thursday night.
Yeah, Jay, this is going to be a fun game. I think there's going to be a lot of offense. I'm excited to see the Cowboys come in with those pass catchers and that offense firing on all cylinders. And the Lions are a little banged up right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown likely to miss. Khalif Raymond likely to miss offensively as well. So I'm excited to see Isaac Tesla maybe step up offensively for the Lions. If you're a fantasy player or maybe a better looking to Tesla, I think you might have a big breakout game. But I think the Cowboys are in a good spot to take this game. The run defense has been really sharp. They took down KC obviously last week, and this offense, I mean, with those pass catchers, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are unstoppable. And this Lions defense has struggled deep this season. I think Dak Prescott's going to have another great day. I think the run defense for the Cowboys is not going to stop Jahmyr Gibbs, but at least limit his impact as much as one can limit his impact. And I think the Giants are going to come away with this one and have a pretty big victory.
Yeah, look, I mean, Dak has had himself a season. You talk about the MVP stuff, and he was certainly, being discussed in the early going this season for that. It was really the defense that was hindering the Dallas Cowboys, and they have turned it around in a big way. Obviously, some moves at the trade deadline, a different way to build a team for sure, but a team that could make life difficult for some others should they be able to find their way in to the playoffs. Detroit has 14 straight wins coming off of a loss. So we haven't seen them have back-to-back losses very frequently, obviously. Dan Campbell and company are going to try to see if they can do that against a Dallas team that is clicking on all cylinders right now. I think I like Dallas in this one as well, but we'll see. Enjoy the game Thursday night. Just kick back like the Patriots. Kick back, relax, enjoy it, take it in. See you next time.